Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the EmpowerMAN podcast. Fa la 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 la. Christmas is on the horizon. I am here in sunny South Florida, and I am joined today by the real Santa Claus, the man who is affectionately known as Super Dad. He's the man who brings home the bacon and pounds the pork. It just went well. I didn't know what else to say. He is the champion of the Second Amendment. He's my boy. He's your boy. It's a quick intro today, but you know what? There are not enough euphemisms to describe this individual. He is the legend. He is the icon. He is the flag bearer of this great country. Greg A. Tedora, numero uno. Sir, how we doing?
I'm doing a lot better, as always, after that amazing intro with some pretty big words, Mike. But anyway, I am really excited. We have an awesome guest today, which we will get to in a second. But first, Mike, who are we thanking?
We're thanking our firefighters, our EMTs, our first responders. Thank you all for keeping us safe and sound.
Absolutely. And I want to thank all the military personnel out there, their families here at home, whether you're stationed here or overseas. We thank you, and we want you to be safe and have an awesome holiday and keep kicking ass out there and watch your back.
Absolutely. And before we get to our very special guest, Greggy T, it's 6 more days till Christmas.
Yes,
now,
it is.
We all have our traditions. We're all going to get into it at some point. I got to tell you, Greggy T, and I told you this on the phone last night, I watched 3 of the best Hallmark movies I've ever seen. I am a very sensitive person. Believe it or not, no matter what people may think, I'm a very sensitive person. And the best Hallmark, if anyone's going to watch a Christmas movie this year, you have to watch My Christmas Guide. 20 minutes in, my face was like a cream puff. Tears running down, sniffling nose. My cat's looking at me like, what's wrong with you? But it was an amazing movie. Greggy T, top notch.
I'll take your word for it on that one, Mike. I'm like watching like documentaries on the History Channel, so that's the extent.
Totally opposite.
If anyone from Hallmark is listening to this, I am available. Okay, check out my bio in our web link below. But Greggy T, I am going to send this over to you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And we are going to get right into it. This 6 days before Christmas.
Absolutely. Great timing for this guest. Super excited. We have a young woman, entrepreneur, powerlifter, fitness competitor. She owns pretty much the best supplement store here in the Northeast, in my opinion. And I am pleased to welcome Amanda Herdman onto the show. And I want everyone to go to all the links that I'm going to put at the bottom to go check her store out, go check everything out. She really is a true patriot, and she is definitely a great influence for not only young women out there, but for everybody. So definitely check her out. Amanda, welcome to the circus.
Thank you, guys.
Amanda.
I am very happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we've been trying to schedule this for a while. So I want to dive right in with you.
Yeah.
And I want to know, number one, let everyone know where you're from,
Right.
a little bit about your upbringing and childhood.
Yeah. So I am from a pretty small town in Putnam County, New York. It's called Patterson. Mike, you definitely know it. You grew up kind of similar area.
I did, not that far away.
Yeah. So I grew up there. I currently reside in Connecticut with my fiance, Joe. I grew up with a great, big, crazy family. I have 2 amazing parents who have been married for 34 years, which is
Awesome.
rare in today's day and age. So I love it.
Awesome.
I am super close to both my parents. I also have 3 older brothers. So I'm the youngest out of 4. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So 3 older brothers. Growing up was great. It was fun. Definitely, we definitely had some challenging times because 2 of my oldest brothers actually both have special needs. So one of my brothers has autism, and then the other one, he has Tourette's, a learning disability. So we did grow up with that, and definitely like as a young kid, a teenager, it was hard, and then my other brother, his name is Tom. Me and him are very close. We are 2 years apart. So me and him, we were like best friends growing up. So we've dealt with a lot just with our older two siblings. So being the youngest out of all the boys, me and Tom kind of were like the ones of the family to like be the older siblings to them, you know? So I feel like we grew up, you know, kind of quickly. We learned a lot, you know, just from observing how people treated them in school and everything. And, you know, and it was hard, but it was a great childhood. So yeah, my parents have been through a lot. They are both amazing. They've done so much for my brothers, and definitely like a very humbling childhood. You know, I didn't come from any entrepreneurs. My dad
I was
worked for
going
the
to
health
ask, what did they do?
Yeah, so my father worked for the health department since he was like 25, just retired a few years ago. My mother, actually, she still works to this day, which I want her to quit. So when she listens to this, she needs to quit her freaking job.
Quit, Mom, quit.
So she works for a group home. So she takes care of adults that can't take care of themselves, special needs. So obviously, you know, like growing up with two kids like that, she's been very passionate about it her whole life. And just, she truly is a saint and loves to take care of people. So came from a very, you know, humbling middle-class family, you know, parents weren't entrepreneurs. No one ever really talked about that. Or it was never a topic in the household. You know, no one went to college. My two parents went to college. None of my siblings did. Obviously, the older two siblings, they didn't go away to school. My brother Tom went right into the Marines at 18 years old. And then there's me. So I wanted to actually go that route. I thought maybe I would want to go into the military, but I ended up going to college instead for 2 years. So my childhood was great though. No complaints, you know. My family to this day, everyone is still so close. We all see each other. I see my parents probably like twice a week. You know, they live about 30 minutes from me. So
That's awesome. That's cool.
Super cool.
Yeah, I grew up kind of the same with really great parents. I have an older sister, and
Okay.
you know, they were married for forever. My
Right.
dad passed, but
Sorry to hear that.
they were super tight. Mike knows we used to call my parents when we were like drunk in the city at like 3 in the morning every night.
Yeah.
So super close with them. And it's funny with the entrepreneurial spirit. It's almost like I'm like the first of the line, because it was always, and I'm not hating on that, it was always like slow and steady wins the race.
Right.
You know, my dad was the principal in Inertial High School. Before that, he was a teacher. So he's like, you know, slow and steady wins the race, pension, like you're good, da, da, da.
Right.
And I just never had that in me. Never
Yeah.
had that desire.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, like just seeing, you know, my parents go what they've gone through with work and, you know, working. My parents worked a lot, you know, like there was a point where my mother was working like 3 jobs, you know, like my parents really worked a lot. And I, you know, remember seeing that as a kid, like, I don't want that. And no shame on them, you know, my parents grinded. They worked hard for their family to take care of my brothers, you know, and that was their number one priority, is like having the means to do whatever they have to do, especially for my oldest two siblings. And I just saw that growing up as a kid. And I'm like, whatever it is I'm going to do, I don't know what it is, but I just don't want this. I don't want this for myself. You know, I always kind of was a kid where even when I was growing up, I was just always different. You know, if everyone was doing this, I wanted to run this way and do this, you know, like that's why just even being young in the school system, like I hate to say it, but like I remember being a kid, like seeing through the bullshit that teachers would do, you know, in school and being like, I don't like this. Like I always spoke up. I was always very well spoken, which sometimes my parents were like, Amanda, just shut up and like go to school and like just come home, you know? And like I was just very well spoken and like I wanted to be heard. I wanted everyone to hear how I felt and you know, but school
I
for
have 2 little girls. I have a 2 and a 4-year-old.
Okay.
And I want that for them. I want them to speak their mind, speak up for themselves, and not necessarily like everyone's like, oh, are you know, do you want them to go to college? I'm like, first of all, I'm thinking about like kindergarten right now, but I'm not going to press them to go. If they want to go for something specific, cool. But I'm not pressing that on them. It's different nowadays, in my opinion.
Yeah,
so.
and it's really in a kid or it's not, you know, like I remember just it's great that I ended up great, because I remember being in high school and like never wanting to go to class. Like I remember I would just skip class when I could drive, like not to do anything bad. I would literally go eat and go to the gym and be like, I hate this, I'm leaving. Like,
were you a good kid for the most part?
I was, yeah. No, I definitely was. My dad can even say it too, but there was times like I remember like growing up, like I just did stupid things, you know? Like I remember being a teenager and, you know, my parents were at the neighbors like 3 houses down and I thought it was a good idea to throw like a Halloween party and like just crazy stuff like that.
They'll
But I
never
was,
know. They'll never
yeah.
know.
And then my dad just walks in and there's a kid smoking a cigar in my kitchen and he's like, what the hell is going on with stuff? Like, but no, I always, you know, I always tried to help my parents out when I could. And, you know, I think a big part of the reason why I am the way I am and why I just always kind of was like, I always just felt older than I was just because of having my brothers, you know, my two oldest brothers. Like, because I remember being in school, like being years younger than them and like standing up for them, like, you know, just getting so defensive when I found out someone was picking on them or, you know, so I'm kind of always that older sibling to them, you know, so.
It's cool. Mike and I spoke about this in one of the episodes about core values, and it seems like your parents did a great job setting an example and just, you know, fertilizing your core values, which you obviously kept through your life. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, they really, really did. And like, you know, just touching on religion a little bit, like my parents, you know, they took us to church, like we went to Catholic church a lot as kids. And, you know, I was actually never really into it when I was a kid or a teenager. And, you know, there was a point of time where I was like, it doesn't make sense, you know, like I just don't care. Like where I just almost was kind of going so far the other way then with religion where I'm like, I just don't want any part of it just because I never had that connection, you know, that I needed with God, you know. You have to form that on your own. You can't force it on a kid. And I remember just, you know, my parents, they tried, you know, they would bring us all to church and, you know, we always got the family together for holidays and everything, even extended family. Like family was a huge deal in my household and, you know, making sure we all spend time together. So that's huge. It definitely was important. So I had a great childhood. I really, really did. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So then what about, so going into high school, college, what was on your mind then?
High school, I just want to touch on that a little bit more and kind of how now it ties into my fitness career because that was, you know, that's a big part of my life now. I have to give my father a lot of credit because I would see my mom and dad, they would go to a gym. It was World Gym in Pauling. Yeah, you know the place. I just want to shout out my friend Traley and Chip, the owners over there. They're awesome.
Right off of the well, I take the Conic, right? Because there's the Poughkeepsie.
It's right off of 22.
22. That's
what great gym. And I remember just seeing my parents go there, you know, together. And like I just said to my dad one day, oh, I want to go to the gym. Like I don't know really what to do there, but I just kind of followed my dad and like whatever machines he did, I just jumped on and I knew nothing about weight training. And I just kind of just followed my father and I always played sports. I did cheerleading actually and gymnastics for most of my life. And then as soon as I got to high school, I switched to field hockey and I just kind of would go to the gym like maybe once or twice a week just because it was like whatever, it was a thing to do with my dad. And then, I just got really into sports for a few years. And then I feel like I just got to a point where I'm like, I just don't want to do anything. I don't want to be on a team. I just want to get really into training. You know, I just want to get really strong. That's where my focus was.
What bit you? Like what triggered that to just go in that direction?
I got a job at the gym. That was my like third job. I started doing like little part-time stuff when I was young. I got that job in high school. It was awesome. And I met one of my best friends there to this day. He is a great friend of mine. His name is Joe Libertella. I just want to shout him out. Amazing bodybuilding coach in Arizona. I remember like we just became friends. Like we would just work out at the gym sometimes together. And he just said to me one day, he's like, you know, have you ever thought about doing a bodybuilding show, Amanda? Like, and guys, I was young. Like I was like,
there it is.
16 at this time. And he came up to me and said that. And I'm like, what is that? I don't even know what those are. Like, what's a bodybuilding show? And I remember he showed me pictures of girls that competed that he coached, guys. And I was like, this is freaking weird. Like people just get on stage in their bathing suit and diet down. And I was just like, you know what? Cool. Let's do it. Let's just do a prep. So a few weeks later, I started a prep. It was like 15 weeks. I was 16, turning 17, really young. And he's like, all right, here's a list of all your supplements. Sent me into a local supplement store to buy everything. All right, you got to drink a gallon of water a day, 6 meals. And like, I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. And the cool part about that was like, I feel like I was so new in it where I just didn't have many questions. I was like, okay, I'm just going to do whatever I have to do, you know? And I've always had that mindset, even from then. And I feel like doing shows at such a young age has taught me that. It really sculpted me into like having a driven mindset and just doing what you have to do, because sometimes that's life, right?
Absolutely.
And I
Did you
remember
have, sorry to interrupt, did you have a hard time, or was it difficult being that age? Because I'm sure at that age, a lot of people are going out, having fun, partying.
I
Like,
was labeled
was that
weird
hard?
for sure. Yeah, I remember going to high school with you know, my
Chicken and rice
gallon with the blue aminos in it. People called it windshield wiper fluid. Like I had all my meal preps and everything, and like a lot of people didn't understand, of course, you know, at that age, like you're so young. And I just remember like walking around school with this huge, you know, 6-pack, you know, the 6-pack like lunch bags with all my meals, eating my tilapia in class, and people were like, that's disgusting.
That's awesome.
And a lot of people kind of didn't understand, and they saw I was losing weight drastically, so people thought like I was sick or that I had eating disorder, but I didn't care.
It's called shredded, people.
Yeah, it's called
shredded.
Shredded.
That's it.
I didn't care though. I didn't let it get to me, and I had a great support system. I remember, I mean, if you guys, Mike, you said you've done shows before. You remember that depletion where you just couldn't even walk up a flight of stairs. You were so tired. Like
I used to fall asleep at going out to dinner.
Yeah.
I'd go out to dinner, and like every third day I would have a carb, and then, you know, because when I dieted, it was structured, but it kind of wasn't. So I knew like, you know, no carbs, no bread, no dairy, no sodium, no sugar. So I was like, okay, now I got that. I'm good. Protein, the water. But I used to go to night class in college with a large Dunkin' Donuts coffee, shredded wheat, and spearmint gum.
Yeah.
To kill the hunger cravings.
Did you do the total like gym bro diet where it's chicken, rice, beef, tilapia, all that, hot sauce and everything?
Yeah. I can't remember back then, but I can remember the week out, I would do no carbs from like it'd be all protein from like Saturday to like Tuesday, and then Wednesday a little bit, Thursday a little bit, Friday I would like eat a bowl of pasta. But I didn't get so nervous the day of the show that I wouldn't eat. I'd just nervous.
Yeah.
After the prejudging, I'd go wolf down like chicken, rice, and beans, and I would look better at night than I did during prejudging.
Usually that's how it works out. But
guys, I get tired walking upstairs now. What's my problem? I'm not dieting or anything.
I mean, same, but we don't need to talk about that.
No, we don't.
But it's just funny. Like my parents were so supportive of me, and they had no idea what I was doing. Like I remember.
I was going to ask, what were they thinking?
They were helping me cook meals because I was exhausted.
Awesome.
My father, I remember sometimes would drop me off at school because I didn't want to walk up the hill where I'd have to park. And like, it was just so ridiculous, but they were so supportive, and that's just how they were with everything. And having that support, it was great. You know, it just
absolutely
it really, really helped me get through things. And
how was studying? Did it affect your grades at all, or you were good?
I mean, my grades honestly like weren't great, but they weren't bad. They were just consistent. Like I just never was a great student. I didn't enjoy school. You know, I've had some friends back then that are like, they loved high school and everything. A lot of my friends were older too. So a lot of my friends were older than me. So when I was like a junior or a senior, you know, all my friends were in college already. So I just kind of made my schedule where I just went to school for like a few hours and left, got to the gym. And I really just, you know, focused on the gym because I didn't really like school that much. And it honestly, you know, I went through a period of time in high school where I just was pretty down. I was depressed, as I feel like a lot of young kids go through. Yeah. And I kind of used the gym as my outlet where I got a lot of confidence from it.
It's like you, Mike. It's like hearing you.
It's amazing. Our backgrounds are very similar with the gym. Yeah. And like I knew that I wanted to compete. Like, again, I got bit by the bug. I used to work at the bodybuilding shows. I'd find little Jack Daniel bottles because they'd been swigging Jack before. I found one guy was drinking red wine out of a Tuppermade like container with aspirin.
Before stepping on stage.
It's before stepping on, and then they would just
I did that too, red wine and Sour Patch.
Sweat. Yes. Oh my God.
Make you vascular.
I have a question for you though. So the self-discipline, because it takes a lot of self-discipline to do what you've done and training. And where did that come from? Like you said, you watched your parents work like 3 jobs, taking care of your older brothers, and you
Right.
kind of like hung out with older people,
Yeah.
and that's self-discipline. A, where do you think you got that from? And B, how has that propelled you to the success you've had now?
I think I actually got it from my brother Tom. Watching him go right into the Marines at 18 years old, and he's actually in the other room right now. He's visiting for 2
Hey,
weeks.
Tommy.
He's actually walking in the door right now. But,
Tommy, thank you for your service, Tommy.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, man.
You want to
Come
pop
on
in
in.
real quick?
Come
Yeah, I
on.
got
He
a third
has-
bulldog in my life.
He
What's
has
going on?
Hey.
this is my dog Samson
What's up,
too.
guys?
What's
Hey,
up, guy?
Tom, welcome to the podcast. Just want to say thank you for your service. Thank
I don't know
you
what
for
we're doing
doing
here,
what
but
you
happy to
do.
be a
I
part
was
of it.
talking about you for a second.
Thank you so much, because without you, we wouldn't have this platform. So thank you for protecting our freedoms.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
We appreciate
No,
you.
I was just saying, like, I feel like it came from him. Just because, when I was in high school, watching him go into the military at that age and, hearing about all his workouts, because our communication for a period of time was letters, which was really cool. So him writing me letters about and everything they were doing, it was so cool to see. And I'm like, this is awesome. And I went through a period of time where I thought I wanted to do that too. So, I'm sorry, Samson, you got to go, buddy. He's too loud. So my dog is very loud. He snores too. So I went through that for a period of time too, where I wanted to go into the military also. And, just seeing what he had to do to get there mentally, I was like, I need to prepare myself for this too as well. And I just think, having the right people around you too is very important. Having my friend Joe, who has, I see him go through preps and everything. I see all these people he coaches, and I'm like, I want to be like that. I want to have that mindset where no matter what happens in life around you, like you just keep going, like you just don't let things affect you. Obviously you take things in and process it, right? Like great to process your emotions, but like you just keep going. You can't let anything stop you. And Tom was a big role definitely in my drive for sure. And seeing my older sibling do something amazing, at 18 years old, that was what really kind of kicked me in the butt and was like, okay, you need to be like this,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I love it. So getting it now, we'll get after competing days, you decide to open your own business. What
Yes.
did you do? Like, walk us through the steps. Like, how did you get to the point where you said, you know what, I don't want to work for anybody. This
Right.
isn't for me. I'm going to take that leap of faith and open up my own business.
Right.
Walk us through that process, the thought process, but also to the events that kind of led you to where you're at right now.
Right.
It's
So,
a great question. Let me just give it some background
Yeah.
because we get a lot of. That's probably the number one topic that we speak about and get asked offline is the leap of faith part, that
Mhm.
people are afraid to leave the, I don't want to say safety net, but like that mentality
Right.
of just, oh, I get a paycheck every 2 weeks. I'm okay. I can rely on that. So if you can touch on that, that'd be
Yeah.
huge.
So another person that played a big role in my life, who's not really in my life anymore, he owned a supplement store in kind of the town I grew up in, similar area, like 20 minutes away. I got a job there actually, post bodybuilding days, post high school, post college. I got a job there. He taught me a lot about supplements, how to run a store, and I kind of managed the store for him for a period of time. And he came up to me one day and he's like, Amanda, like, you're really good at this. Like, I love you here as an employee and I would hate to see you go, but you need to open your own business. Like, you need to do this. You're so good with people. I see how you are on the business side of things and how personable you are. And he's like, you need to do it, So Greg, you actually don't know this, but I opened a supplement store with him a few years ago with him and then Joe, actually my fiance. I kind of skipped over the part how I met Joe, but I can go back there.
Yeah, we'll go back.
So, yeah, me, Joe, and then this other gentleman, we opened up a store and it was a very small store. It was located inside of a gym in Westchester for a period of time. And the location just wasn't it. Like the gym wasn't super, super busy. It was a new gym. The storefront we had was just too small to grow. And we just kind of just saw a lot of differences. You know, we all both had differences. We had differences with this guy. Me and Joe kind of wanted to, you know, we had plans for our vision and how we wanted to run the business. And it's always hard to, you know, when you are in business with someone that doesn't see eye to eye on things with you.
The more people involved, there's always things.
Yeah. So the business wasn't doing great. Like it was okay, but it wasn't doing great because it was just such a small location. I truly was not happy. Like I remember telling Joe, like, this is not what I envisioned, you know. Like I feel like it's not ours. Like I feel like it's not mine just because there was other hands involved.
Were you all equal, like a third, a third, a third?
Yes, we were equal. Yeah, but it's just too many opinions.
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation with obviously the gym owner we were into as well. Which we didn't see eye to eye on some things, but I wish him the best. So we actually decided to move out of there and look for a new space. And we moved out of there on New Year's Eve. I remember we packed up the whole store. This was a few years ago. This was about, I'd say like 4 years ago, not too long ago. We moved the whole store and I moved everything into storage. I had no idea what was going to happen. I remember just feeling so depressed and like, I just opened this business. It was my first business ever.
How long was it?
It really wasn't open long. It was like 4 months.
Okay.
But still, you know, it was something that I celebrated, you know. It was my first business. I was young and, you know, just now moving the whole thing and like closing down, I just felt like a failure. I truly did. And, you know, Joe was like, we're going to find a great location. And it took us like a year and a half to find Pleasantville, which is where we are now. And I remember during that period of time, you know, like, what are we doing? You know, am I doing the right thing? And I just questioned so much. And I remember for months, you know, I just went through something where I'm like, why would this happen? You know, like, why would God want me to go through this? And, you know, I remember that same year, a few months after I closed the store, like going through some things like with family members where I had to be there for them. Right. And I said, this is what God wanted me to do. He wanted me to be able to have the time to help these people that I need to right now. Because if I had that store open right now, I wouldn't be able to because I was working like 8 a.m. to like 9 p.m. at night every day, you know? And so it kind of gave me a period of time where I was able to be there for people and it opened my eyes and said, okay, this is where you're supposed to be right now, you know? And that's where I'm going to tie faith into this because having that faith in my life, which, you know, back then I didn't even have that much, but that's kind of the period of time where I'm like, okay, you need to like put this with God, you know, because this is where he's going to put the right things in place for you at the right time. And he did. You know, we found Pleasantville a year and a half later, and it's been a great business since. So
for I know the plans I have.
It is an awesome store.
Plans to harm you and not plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to you hope in the future. Yeah. Jeremiah, right? 33:3, I think.
I think so.
Jeremiah talked about that.
But yeah, I got into it because of a friend of mine at the time. And, you know, and I feel like I had a lot of entrepreneurs around me. And that's why I feel like I was never hesitant. I never like questioned, like, is this for me? You know what I mean? Except for when we closed that business. And Joe, my fiance, he has been an entrepreneur since he just turned 35. So since he was like in his 20s, you know? So Joe actually owns, which you guys probably want to have him on the show at some point, an advanced planning firm in Armonk, New York. And he specializes in working with, you know, entrepreneurs, very high net worth people. So he kind of like was the that backbone for me where he was like, you're going to be great at this. Like, you're going to do it. Like you have the drive, you have the personality for it. And like, I think I'm really lucky to have someone like that in my life at that period of time because not everyone has that, you know? And I just think the people I surrounded myself with, like most people are self-employed that I'm friends with, you know, that I'm around. And I feel like it is kind of true, right? The people you do surround yourself with, like, will help shape you. And it's very true.
Absolutely. Mike says it all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about it all the time.
Be careful.
Right voices.
Yeah. Who you surround yourself with it's so important, you know?
Like my pastor says, show me 5 of your friends, I'll show you your future.
Yeah, it's very true.
That's
Yeah, but
awesome.
that's kind of how Boundless was created. And so me and Joe ended up just, doing it on our own. And we actually have one of our best friends. His name is Steve. He's involved with us, and he's actually Joe's business partner. So someone we trust very well. He's our CPA, so it works out. We got a CPA on hand.
Pay your taxes, Amanda. Pay your taxes.
That's right. We got 2 wars to fund.
Yeah.
But so me, Joe, and Steve, yeah, we partnered up and we opened up Boundless, and it's like exactly what our vision, what we wanted our vision to be back then, and we do everything how we want it to be done, and it's just nice when everyone's in agreement. And me and Joe are both very similar minded people, and I know people say like, oh, opposites attract, but for us it's like I'm the female version of him and it works, and that's just how we work and it works great.
I mean,
So
Mike, you haven't been there. The vibe is, it's just a cool place. I mean,
yeah.
I remember the first time I went there, it was very welcoming. Like, a lot of these, I don't want to say that because I owned one, but like a
I
lot
know
of
what you're
these
gonna say
supplement
now.
stores, they're like, you walk in and they're like, they're sizing you up, and
Right.
I'm a bigger guy, and they just immediately have that weird vibe. And it was
Right.
so not like that. I was like, oh my God, hey, welcome. If you need anything, let me know. And it's nice to have that. And also
Right.
it's rare. I know this, and you know this because you're in the business. Mike knows this. It's hard to find the better products, the better brands. In the big box stores, they don't have some of these smaller independent, which are, in my opinion, a lot better.
Yeah.
The companies. And it's nice to still have a store that has, like, the hardcore stuff,
Right.
and also some cool, like proteins and vitamins and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's
That's how I felt in stores too. Like, especially being a female, like I remember, being straight up, like I remember feeling like uncomfortable or nervous or
Sure.
like I didn't belong. And that's why I love that I'm there too. Like we have a female there, and then, I have some other girls that work there, and then I have some guys, but I always say to people, the most important thing you do here is whenever someone walks through that door, you say hi, you make sure they feel welcome. And I think that's a problem with our world today, is like people just don't feel acknowledged. And you acknowledge a person if they're right here, they're a person. And
Listen, I don't know any of the guys that work for you, but I will
yeah,
say they've always been on point when I was there.
good. I'm glad
Always.
to hear that.
Always.
Good.
Yeah.
So, Amanda, tell me more about your vision. You talked about your vision coming to life. What is your vision, and how have you been able to scale that? We
Mhm.
talk about business, and especially now, we're going to be, again, very honest, right?
Right.
2024 is going to be a very challenging year for
Yeah.
entrepreneurs because,
Yeah.
let's face it, we're a target.
Yeah.
People may not see that, but they want
Yeah.
no area here. It's either here or here. So
Yeah.
we face a lot of challenges as self-employed
Mhm.
individuals.
Yeah.
So give me more about your vision, how you will scale that vision, and also like what type of like risk mitigation do you put into play? Like do you have, because a lot of us are afraid to take that step. So there's risks, and then there's calculated risks, and then there's
Right.
just like, oh, you can't believe this, you're crazy. So in your analysis of where
Mhm.
you are right now, how would you like explain to us what your vision is and how you scale that, and also any type of like risk management that you have in place?
Like, are you saying like what the meaning of the storefront? Like
Yeah,
what our
like
business?
what
Okay.
is yeah, just elaborate more on your vision, because I'm curious to hear, because you talked about your vision and bringing it
Yeah.
to fruition. So I'd like to learn more about your vision.
Yeah. Well, I feel like this is a reason why Greg probably wanted me on the podcast, is our store. So it's called Boundless Nutrition, and our motto is life without boundaries.
I love
And
it.
pretty much, yeah, so pretty much what that means, we have it plastered on the wall right when you walk in, is like you're living a life without limits. There's nothing stopping you. You can do whatever you want to do if you set your mind to do it, right?
Love it.
So that's our motto. And I don't like to push things onto people. I don't like to push faith onto people, but I do instill it in the store, because those are my values and that's who I am and that's who Joe is, right? So on our wall, when you walk in, we have a saying that says, written in the Bible, 365 times is, do not be afraid, fear is a liar. And yeah, I love it. It's one of my favorite sayings ever. And our vision is faith, freedom, you know, being a patriot, being who you are. And we're not afraid to put that on shirts. And, you know, some of our shirts are a little in some people's faces, especially for the area we're in
I
West
love it.
Texas.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I
I
love
gotta
it.
send you some stuff, Mike. You're gonna love it.
Well, I'm gonna be home for Christmas, so I'm gonna stop in. I'll be up there next week.
Oh, great. I look forward to meeting you in
Likewise.
person. But yeah, we're just not afraid of, you know, being who we actually are. And that's why the first store didn't work out for me, because I wasn't truly being who I was. You know, I was using someone else's business model, right? That the way he's run his store in the past. And with this store, we're truly who we are, and we're not afraid to show people that. And, you know, I feel like just with dosing things into people's lives just a little bit, like, you know, throwing a verse on a shirt, or, you know, just being positive when people walk in the door, you know, like, people could go out that whole day and have horrible interactions with people, but they come to our store and they're always going to have a good experience, and they're always going to see someone there who truly cares and who truly wants to help them. And I don't view my store, obviously it's a retail store, right? Everyone wants to make money, but I view it as like the best days I have in that store are the days where I've had real conversations with people. And, you know, whether that's, you know, they start opening up about, you know, something that's happened to them a year ago, and this is why maybe they're overweight, or, you know, they get very personable with us there. And I love that, because that shows me that I created the space for that person to feel comfortable. And I gave them the floor to feel comfortable and talk to me about whatever they want. And that's kind of the vision of that store that I want. I want it to be a place for people to come and feel good about themselves, right? I want it to be a place where maybe they can learn something, where maybe, you know, they'll see a verse on the wall and they'll look that up and their life could change, you know? And that's really why I feel so passionate about this store, you know? And, you know, obviously it's selling supplements, and to some people it might sound like surface level, right? But to me, I know what I talk about with my customers and everything, and the people I meet. And to me, I'm like, this is what truly matters. This is what God would want, you know?
Colossians 3:23.
Mm-hmm.
Work willingly for the Lord rather than for people. So everything you're using supplements as the conduit to helping people. And what I took away from that was, I think for anybody that wants to step into business for themselves, stay true to yourself.
Exactly.
Stay true to
People
yourself.
see that. People see that. And the second you're not yourself, people can tell. If you're not being authentic all the time, you know, and that's why I'm not afraid of, you know, putting, you know, come and take it on a t-shirt, because I'm not worried that people are gonna I'm not worried that people are gonna cancel me, because I have my people, and I know those people will always support me, you know?
But that's hard for a lot of people to do that, because they want to fit in line like sheep. We spoke about this before, and someone that I've done this. I wanted to be myself, but it was looked at, oh, you can't do that, or you have a bigger beard, you don't look so professional. It's like all these things. I'm like, but that doesn't take away my value or my credit or anything. It's just your opinion of how that person should look in that position, and I don't like that.
Yeah. And that was in the real estate world, Greg?
Oh yeah, it's my space.
So I feel like my industry, we have more people like us, right? A lot of gym rats are patriots, you know, it's just true. It goes hand in hand. Hard work in the gym and hard work in life, it goes hand in hand.
Amen to that.
I feel like Joe, my fiance, could definitely speak a lot more on this topic if you guys decide to have him on, because he's in that, you know, corporate world. And I mean, his business name is Shepherd Wealth Group, right? Leading the herd. And so he's very open about it with who he is and everything, and the people he works with. And it's like, you know what, like, if someone comes into my store and they're mad I have an American flag on the wall, great. I don't really want you as a customer. Like,
100% agree with him.
Business, and I don't want you in here, you know? And
couldn't agree more.
Isn't that crazy though? Think about that for a second. Isn't that crazy to be a patriot, to love this country that gives us the American dream is so frowned upon? That is bizarre. When we're actually having a conversation about having pride in our country being a bad thing. That is, to me, that is so sad. It's so sad. When Greg and I were growing, I don't know about you, but like we'd say the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, we would sing that. Now, like, to see like the blatant disrespect of our national anthem that your brother sacrificed his life so that we could have this life, to
Yeah.
me it's very, very sad. Very
Yeah,
sad.
and for people to just throw that away, and that's why I feel so strong about, like, owning my own business, being an entrepreneur, especially as a female.
That's right.
Just let, like, what those guys fight for all the time, what my brother fights for, like, just crumble. And, like, it means a lot to me, to actually, grow something and create something of my own in this country, because I can.
That's right.
And that's what the world, our world today doesn't want. They don't want people like us,
Nope.
they
Isn't that
don't
crazy?
want people to start their own business and think for themselves, and that's
American
one of the
dream.
biggest problems today.
That was the
Agreed.
big thing. The American dream was you
Yeah.
work for yourself, work, raise a family, buy a
Yeah.
home. And the challenges, the handcuffs, I mean, just
Mhm.
with energy prices and the
Yeah.
way inflation is wreaking havoc. And I'm so glad we're having this conversation, because
Yeah.
as three business owners that we are, our values align in regards to, people over profit. And you've demonstrated that in our dialogue about how the customer experience used to be paramount before COVID.
Right.
After COVID, Greg and I talked to the mayor of Tempe, Arizona, and we looked at, like,
Okay.
labor statistics, right? There were 9 million jobs were available,
Right.
Only 5 million people are working. So you have almost 4 million people unemployed, just sitting around. I don't know. We don't know what they're doing.
It's
So
crazy.
it's like, how do you, and this kind of bridges to my next question, how do you find the right people to work with you?
Huh.
Like the right, like, customer wise, or like,
Employees, how do you find, like, to hire people for your store? What are some of your best practices that you use to bring people into your, because I call it a family. My
Right.
company is like a family, and that's the type of environment that I like to run. It's very faith-based. I do everything. I try with not by what a Ivy League school would teach you or
Yep.
business school, but
I
by how
agree.
the heart and the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
So tell me how you go about finding people to come work with you to help grow and scale your brand.
It's funny. Everyone that works for me at Boundless and everyone that works for Shepherd, Joe's firm, we're all the same. And, I noticed, obviously, that's a trend, and it's because we're who we are all the time. And someone that doesn't have hardworking values, someone that, doesn't think like us. And I'm not saying you have to think just like us. No way. We're fair people. I'm not going to, treat someone like garbage because they don't agree with me. Not at all. But I'm just who I am. And that attracts people that are similar and like-minded to me. And they want to work for me. They want to work in my environment because I treat people good, and that's the thing. Like, I just never see someone working for us that just doesn't have good core values, because why would they want to if they didn't?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like the people that are attracted to us are always going to be like-minded people, because, obviously in the interview process, I don't just say it, but you walk in there, you meet me, you can tell, you can tell how I am, and that's going to attract similar people. I believe as an owner, how you want your staff to be, you have to create that. You
Starts
have to
at the top.
It does. You have to
Yeah.
create that. You have to create that community. You have to you create the environment you want. And if people, whether people are going to respect you or they're not, like, if your staff completely disrespects you and doesn't listen to you, it's because of, what you give off to them.
Mhm.
So I think, all the people that do work for me, we're all the same. We are all the same. And I don't think it's ever going to be the other way around,
Listen, I'm sure there's a ton of your customers like me. I
Mhm.
don't live so close to the store, but I have no
Right.
problem driving there, like you said, for the experience and for
Right.
the product and just the
Yeah.
whole vibe. Like, that means a
Yeah.
lot to someone like me, and
Thank you.
supporting, patriotism and
Right.
local business. Like, everything fits in line. Like, I have no problem with that. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go to Vitamin Shop 2 minutes away,
Yep.
and it's
Or
like,
order online, and that's the thing. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
I always say this to people, like, I'm so grateful to have such a supportive, community that comes in and truly wants to support me and, help me grow my dream, because without them, I would be nothing. They're the ones that keep the doors open and keep it going. And they could just order offline, but it's
Mhm.
because the experience, how they
Yep.
feel when they come in, and that's what goes back to our conversation earlier. That's so important to me,
Me too.
like, whether I have a good day of sales or bad day of sales, like knowing that I helped someone and that I had a real conversation with someone, that is why I'm here. And this is why I love what I do. And you can apply that to any business, you know, and
Yep.
my advice for people, especially starting out with their own business, you know, be who you are, you know, and care about the person first.
Yeah.
Do things for your customers first, you know, offer, you know what I mean? Like offer a free service to start off with first, just so they learn that trust, because trust is the biggest thing, you know, and once people start to trust you, they're going to be loyal to you for the rest of their lives.
The money will follow if you do
Yeah.
everything right.
Yep.
Like don't go out of the gates money first. I totally agree
Yeah.
with that.
Yep, I
Yeah.
do that. I give away the keys to the kingdom initially because before I ask for an investment, I
Right.
want them to make sure that they feel comfortable doing it. And I will make
Yeah.
sure that I show them this is how you're going to be supported. This is
Yeah.
the structure. This is what they do. And it's crazy because it we talked about being slow and steady, but it's kind of like a slow and steady scale because it's like you'll have like 4 or 5, then they'll tell 2, they'll tell 3, the other people tell
Mhm.
4. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
you're building this
And that's the
sustainable
best.
base, right?
Yeah.
And I want to tie this into my next question.
Mhm.
I mentioned it earlier. 2024 is going to be a big year.
Right.
Now, we all think the same. People may think we're nuts, but it's an election year, which
Yep.
means I think we're going to have, some challenges coming up. You talked about not being an online store, but how would you, after the pandemic and after COVID, what do you have any policies or any procedures or any type of transitions? Like, can you do a quick pivot in the event that some stuff happens in this world where
Mhm.
they're going to try to handcuff us in business?
Yeah, I mean, you know, me, Joe, and Steve were always thinking up of ideas, and you know, it just doesn't even go with business; it goes with your life too as well. You know, this applies to everyone with their everyday home and with their families. You know, like Greg, you've probably heard this before. Get your house in order. That's the biggest thing I feel like right now.
All the
You
time.
know, Sean Whalen
That's the
says it,
saying.
"Lions not cheap," all the time,
Yep.
and it's so true. And I feel like we can only prepare so much. And this is why I truly, you know, I keep practicing not to live every day in fear, because that's what they want. They want us to live our life in fear,
Agreed.
stay home, stay inside, don't create businesses, don't grow your family, don't have kids, you know.
Don't be
They,
healthy, don't work
yeah,
out, don't eat good,
they
don't take
want you to live
supplements.
in fear. And
Mhm.
the biggest fight back, I truly believe with that, is just keep doing what you're doing. You know what I mean? Keep your doors open. I remember a perfect example of this is I remember it was probably a few months into our store being open in Westchester County. They were saying they wanted every business to ask for a vaccination, like your vaccination card,
The
or
owners?
owners had to ask everyone coming into businesses
That's
if
crazy.
you had a vaccine or make sure they're wearing a mask. And I think we were there's a few others that didn't do it. One of the only few in our area that didn't do that, because
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
why would I do that? Why would I, like, I don't believe in that. Why am I going to do that? You know? And you just have to think for yourself and not be mindless and just go with the herd. You know, you can't do that. And that's the biggest problem in our world today. One of the biggest problems is people don't think for themselves. They
Nope.
don't. And that's where they get handcuffed. And, you know, they'll look 5 years later down the road and they're like, how did I get here? Well, you let it happen. You know, you're in
Yep.
full control of your life and your family, you know, and you're the one that chooses if, you know, you want to keep your business door open or not because of a government mandating, which isn't even a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just truly
That's
believe
awesome.
it's important right now for everyone to have backup plans, you know, just have plans in place, you know. I've been noticing a lot of friends of mine too that have kids. Me and Joe don't have kids yet, but they're starting to homeschool the kids, you know. They're pulling them out of the school system.
Crazy. That's crazy. That's
It's
crazy.
crazy.
We
know,
talk
they're-
about it every week. It's insane.
Yeah, it makes us think, you know, we're planning too, you know, we want to have kids one day. And of course it is sometimes a little, you know, you question it with the world today, but that's what
Yeah.
that's what they want you to do, is to
Mhm.
not have kids and not raise them as little patriots, you know.
That's right.
So I just think you have to continue doing what you're doing and don't let them stop you. You know, you have to stand up. And that's the only way things are going to change, if more people like us actually speak up and stand up. If we just sit here with our hands crossed, like, we're screwed, you know? But we
Yeah.
have so many people like us where I truly think we're going to be okay. I truly do.
Let me ask you this. you know a little bit about me with in regards to this, but what are your thoughts on, because you're from the Northeast like we are.
Yeah.
But if somebody asks me like, "Oh, how is it?" I'm like, "It sucks."
Yeah.
I like out west. So
Yes, we
what
always
are your
talk about
thoughts
that
on
word.
that? Yeah, like because we're the minorities here
Yes.
in the way we think and conduct our business and our thoughts. And
Yeah.
so, what are your thoughts on all that?
So me and Joe always talk about, getting a second place, of course, and
Yep.
that would probably be in Montana or Wyoming. Of course, if you're able to do that, I think it's good to, get a little cabin or something in a place where it is kind of more
Get
off
some
the grid,
land.
right?
Yeah, get some
Yeah, get some
land.
land. I think buying
Yeah.
things like land right now, that
Yeah.
is huge. I say if you can buy anything right now, it's going to be land for
Yeah.
sure. So that's something we always talk about for sure. Listen, we love New York. I love New York. I just don't like the government in New York, right?
It's
Um,
horrible. Horrible.
it's horrible. But I feel like, we're always going to have a place here, of course, because of, New York is, the finance capital of the world. And with Joe's business, he
Yep.
could be more remote, obviously, than me. He does pretty much 10 to 15 Zooms a day, which is great. But we love it. Our family's here. We always definitely want to have a place here, but we're thinking in the next year or so, getting a place, more so off the grid where, if all shit goes loose, then we could run there.
Listen, you hear it
But
more a lot. The off the grid term is very popular now. I mean,
yeah,
I have a bunch of friends in different states that are literally off the grid. They don't even have like basic water. They have to put
right.
like their own water systems in and all that. I
Yeah,
mean, our
yeah.
friend in Hawaii, Mike, she's doing that, and a good
Oh,
friend of mine's sister does that. Like grows their own food, like the whole nine. It's awesome.
yeah. I think
It's
again,
awesome.
like, right, like not letting fear control your life, but I think like just being smart and being aware of what's going on
That's the thing.
Yep.
is what you need to be doing. And you should have been doing that anyway your whole life. It's just being aware of what's going on. And I feel like a lot more people are waking up to it and making big lifestyle changes. I mean, you said about the food. I have a good amount of friends that are looking into other food options, growing their own food, and
Yeah.
especially with lab grown meat and everything now, it's crazy. It's just, but they're gonna try to attack us any way they can. So you have to just always be aware and always have other options, and it's not living in fear. It's just being aware for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
That's why I moved to Florida, because my business was, honestly, I moved here 2.5 years ago,
Yeah,
and my business was handcuffed. I could never work in a blue state. There's too many
right,
rules, regulations, and like that. At
right.
least if I moved down to Florida, the economy's booming. I don't care what any
It
news
is.
Right.
network says. The economy's
Yeah,
booming. 1,000 people a day are moving here because you can't
yeah.
buy for 300,000
Hmm.
in my town of Delray buys you a bathroom. Okay, so it's like you don't even get the full
Hmm.
house. You
Right.
have people from all these major cities: New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, DC.
Hmm.
They're all moving here. So I'm just
Yeah.
saying, there's opportunities down here, and I think for me, when I look at the whole macro of business, where like in Arkansas is a great place to start a business, right?
Yeah.
Sarah Huckabee
Yeah.
Sanders runs an awesome state. Tennessee, Texas, I'm a little scared of because of the migration of
I agree.
people from California moving there. So I'm a
Yeah.
little
Too close.
on edge about Texas. But you've seen a lot of these, like we talk, you talk about Montana, Wyoming, North
Right.
Dakota, and South Dakota are killing it. I mean, you couldn't
Yeah.
ask for our girl Kristi Noem and
Hmm.
the governor of North Dakota who's running for president. These
Right.
people are they get it, and I would be
Yeah.
totally open to moving to the Dakotas.
Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's
so
something, I do discuss too with Joe. And, his business is the type of business where, like, if we had to, he can move anywhere he wanted, and that's something we do think about too sometimes. And, we have Boundless here, but, like, if we had a good GM here too as well, like we could pop in a few times a month, or you know what I mean? And it's like, we don't feel stuck, and people shouldn't feel stuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, I have a friend. She thinks she is my only friend that thinks completely different from me, and she lives in Washington D.C. And I just had a conversation with her a few weeks ago, and she's waking up where she's like, Amanda, the crime here is terrible. Like, I need to get out. I need to move. And I'm like, see, this is what happens, you know?
That's
And
crazy.
but she's starting to think differently because now it's affecting the area that she's living in, you know, and it's
See, it
affecting
almost
her
takes
on a
that
social
though.
level.
Unfortunately, it takes
Yeah.
like a personal experience, or
Yes.
when it's not in your face, people tend to just brush it aside. But when
Right.
when it smacks you and
Yeah.
you have to deal with it, unfortunately, it's a gift and a curse. Like, yeah, she might
Right.
have seen the light and understands it now, but it shouldn't take that or that
Exactly.
extreme
Right.
for people to see it.
Yeah. I feel like
So
that's most of the world, you know, the people that do
yeah,
switch
yeah,
their thinking and change and start to open in their eyes a little bit. It is because of an experience they've gone through. And
absolutely.
you don't want them to have to go through that, but that's kind of what it is, you know, because I'm seeing it firsthand with her, and she's a very close friend of mine. We grew up together, and I'm like, all right, now you see what I've been saying my whole life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
People think like it won't happen to them. Oh,
Right.
this won't happen to me. This just happens, and then you let your guard down. You become
Right.
vulnerable, and then
And that's
Yep.
when
you
it
become
happens.
susceptible to certain things. And it's like, it's unfortunate, like Greg alluded to, that it's almost like
Yeah.
you got to kind of experience it to finally be a believer of it. And I think
Right.
the media does a good job of kind of gaslighting people too. I think they
Yep.
do a really good job of that.
Mm-hmm.
Greggy T, anything else?
What does the future look like for you? And congratulations on your engagement. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
congrats.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So pretty much the future, I mean, I take things, you know, week to week at this point, just because of scheduling and everything.
Yep.
But pretty much for me, the store is doing great. You know, we've been open now for two years now,
Mhm.
which is awesome.
wow.
I'm starting to work with my fiance a little bit with his business too as well, so that's fun. You know, it's fun to get into something different too as well, because every day, you know, I'm on the supplement side of things, you know, the meathead side of things, right? And then it's like it's nice to now get into more of you know, a different position too as well, and helping him
Yeah.
because he's growing very quickly his business too as well.
That's
So
great.
yeah, so we plans on you know, just working more with him this year, growing his business too, which it's very, very demanding. So I'm very excited for that. And then we are getting married in October. So we're doing it upstate New York at a beautiful farm and everything. So
Nice.
it'll be great.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Where?
cool.
Where upstate?
It's in South New Berlin, New York. Don't know
Is
if you've ever heard of it.
Is that by Saratoga?
It's about I think like an hour and a half, 2 hours from there.
So by the Finger Lakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
Nice area.
Good wineries up there.
Yeah, it's
Very good
beautiful.
wineries.
And
They have good wineries up there.
yeah, and then I plan to I took a little bit of a break from powerlifting, like competing this year. I plan to get back into that 2024 after our wedding, full swing again, competing. I went
Awesome.
to 2 years ago, I went to Vegas. I competed at USA Powerlifting Nationals, which I loved. It was a blast. And another thing I just want to touch on is I stopped bodybuilding. Like, I still train that way. But I
Me
just wanted
too.
to say, especially to the women, you know, listening to this too as well, and that see, especially like a lot of these women online, right, where it looks like they're always in prep, it looks like they're always in shape, and it's like the thing with bodybuilding shows is it's not healthy to do year round. Like, you should never be in a prep year round for a show. And I remember just kind of getting exhausted from it, and I'm like, I don't like this. I want to eat, I want to train heavy, and that's why I kind of fell in love with powerlifting. So now it's fun.
Any injuries?
Not with powerlifting or bodybuilding. I have not been injured in years. I feel like my injuries were when I was younger. I did a lot of competitive horseback riding, stuff like that. That's where I had injuries. And then snowboarding, Greg, Mike, that's where I got the concussions. So
Hey, awesome.
yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Just keep your chin. Just always keep your chin tucked. FYI.
Snowboarding?
Well,
Whenever
when you
you
go
fall,
to fall,
tuck your chin.
tuck your
Never
chin.
heard that. Maybe that's where I went wrong.
Always tuck your chin. It works. That's awesome. Listen, really grateful to have you on and to
Thank
get
you, guys.
a
It was a
whole
pleasure.
different perspective and insight from a young entrepreneur like yourself. So,
Thank you.
and put a word in with your soon-to-be husband. We would love to have him on and talk
guys
about that
will-
side of things. So,
I think it'll
awesome.
be a really good episode. So
That'd be
yeah,
great.
so you guys, I'm sure we'll meet him soon.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And now you're
best
part of the
luck.
family.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, you are.
I had a great
Part of the
time. I'm
family.
happy to be a part of
Part
it.
of the family now.
We appreciate it. Best of luck with the store. Obviously, I'll
Thank
be
you.
in there buying all the pre-workouts you have and that flavor and
Awesome.
some other stuff. So I appreciate it. So
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, guys. God bless you both. I appreciate it.
You
God
as well.
bless you both, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas,
Merry Christmas,
everybody.
everyone.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Take care.
God bless.